Hello, friends, and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast today. In a few moments, we're going to take you into a live session where Bishop Wayne was teaching a message designed to feed your faith and to elevate your understanding. We invite you to join in as if you were here in person and to light up the chat box with your comments and confirmations. This hour of power is your time to recharge, to renew, and even to reset your mind for a life of purpose, passion, and power. At the end of this message, we have an important announcement for you. So do stay tuned. But now let's go into the hour of power with Bishop Wayne Malcolm.
But we're going to deal with leadership, the life or the death of a dream, because I believe that leadership is what it takes to turn an opportunity into an outcome that you desire. And I believe that God is giving us many opportunities, and particularly in 2024, it's going to be a year of opportunity. But in order to convert that opportunity into an outcome you desire, you're going to have to take the lead, and you're going to have to assume responsibility for those outcomes and become a leader in your own field. So what we're going to deal with tonight is I'm going to start off with an episode in the life of Solomon, in which he asked for a sword. We're going to talk about qualifications for leadership, what vision is, what leadership is, where the vacuums for leadership are, and then I'm going to challenge you to rise to the occasion. So let's go into the episode in the life of King Solomon. Okay, so I think we all know that, when Solomon became the king of Israel, he was overwhelmed with a sense of responsibility. He felt it in some way incapable of living up to the legacy and reputation of his father, King David. And he prayed to God, he prayed to God, he made sacrifices to God, and God said to him, look, ask me for anything you want. God gave him a blank check. And Solomon said, what I want is the wisdom to lead, the wisdom to lead. And a lot of people don't understand Solomon's wisdom, and they think that he was just wise in every area of his life. Well, I think a careful study of his life will show that he wasn't wise in every area of his life, but he certainly was wise in the area that he requested wisdom, which was leadership. And the very first test of Solomon's wisdom comes up early in the book of 1 Kings. And it has to do with a custody battle. He had to adjudicate a custody battle between two women. Now that's odd, right? Because typically custody battles are between a man and a woman, but Solomon had to adjudicate a custody battle between two women. And we pick up the story here in 1 Kings 3, verse 23 to 24. Then said the king, the one saith, this is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other saith, nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. Wow and wow. All the people said, amen. Bring me a sword, said the wise young Solomon. And it was clearly his intention to cut the living baby in half and give one half to each of the women. I don't think there was any indication on Solomon's face that he was joking. And yet his decision to cut the baby in half would reveal who the true mother was, because the true mother would rather give the baby over to a false mother than to see the baby die. So what we have in this story is two women, two babies, which represent opportunities, right? Because these were male children, And males in the ancient world represented the potential for prosperity, for protection, for provision, because that's just how society was organized. If you were going to survive, there needed to be a male in the family, either a father, a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a son. There needed to be a male. And so these two women gave birth to two boys, which represented opportunities. So we got two people with the same opportunity. What have we got? Two people with the same opportunity, and yet they experienced different outcomes. Two people with the same opportunity, yet they experience different outcomes. How many of you can relate to that? That actually the problem in the world today, the problem in the body of Christ today, the problem in the kingdom is not a lack of opportunity, okay? It is the fact that that two people can have the same opportunity but not experience the same outcome. And so the reason why these two women had different outcomes is that one slept with her opportunity, the other slept on her opportunity. Oh, help me now. I feel like the sound effects are going to need to come into play. One slept with her opportunity, the other slept on her opportunity. One mothered her opportunity, the other smothered her opportunity. Oh, that's right. One mothered the opportunity, the other smothered the opportunity. One nurtured her opportunity, the other neglected her opportunity. So that's why there's a difference between opportunity and outcome. And we can be a society that cries for equal opportunities. And I think that is right. I think that everyone should be afforded the same opportunity. But that will never lead to the same outcome, because one will sleep with it, the other will sleep on it. One will mother it, the other will smother it. One will nurture it, the other will neglect it. And so the one who slept on her opportunity, the one who smothered her opportunity, the one who neglected her opportunity, lost her opportunity. And when she lost her opportunity, she began hating on the one that was sleeping with her opportunity, mothering her opportunity, and nurturing her opportunity. So that even begins to explain why you have haters. Is there anyone here that has experienced being targeted by haters? And they're haters because what? Because they have killed their own opportunity while you are nurturing and developing and mothering your opportunity. And I think I think this is such a powerful illustration of something that applies to all of us and that is universally true. That when you decide to nurture your opportunity, mother your opportunity, sleep with your opportunity, develop your opportunity, you will attract jealousy and envy from the people who have neglected their opportunity, smothered their opportunity, slept on their opportunity, and otherwise killed their own opportunity. But God gives us all the opportunity. He causes the sun to shine on the just and the unjust, the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. So what we see here is that leadership was the life or the death of the dream. Leadership was the life or the death of the opportunity. Leadership is the life or the death of the vision. And the kind of leadership I am talking about is as follows as we look at these qualifications for leadership. Qualifications for leadership. So first of all, first qualification, top left, is birthing. Birthing. A leader is a mother who is prepared to birth a vision, a dream, or an opportunity. That's right. A leader is a mother who is first impregnated with an idea, and that idea grows in the womb of your imagination until you just can't hold it anymore, and you have to give birth to your vision, birth to your dream, birth to your opportunity. Is there anyone that's ever felt like like you've been impregnated with an idea, you just can't get it out of your mind? You can't forget it. You can't ignore it because you've been impregnated with a possibility, and it is growing in the womb of your imagination. It's growing in the womb of your imagination. And there will come a point at which you must give birth to the vision, birth to the dream, birth to the opportunity. You know, the leader is the person that has carried that possibility in the womb of their imagination and has a relationship with that vision that is akin to the relationship between a mother and a newborn child. That's your first qualification for leadership. Someone said, "Oh, do I need a certificate from a university? Do I need a qualification from an academic institution?" No, what you need, number one, is to give birth to what has been growing in your soul. It's to give birth to what God planted in the womb of your imagination that has now grown so big that you can't get it off of your mind. And once you are carrying in the womb of your imagination a possibility, a vision, dream, or opportunity, that qualifies you to be the leader or the mother of the vision. Let's go over to the top right. Mothering. Okay, the second qualification for leadership. The leader is a mother who prioritizes the interests of the child. So, of course, those of you that are mothers that are listening to me today, I'm sure you're screaming your amen. That once you are pregnant and once you give birth, you have a new set of priorities. That child is your priority. And God has so organized our own biology so that there are hormones that actually force you to prioritize the interests of your child. And this is why the bond between a mother and a child is so deep. It's so deep. It is deep at a psychological level. It's deep at an emotional level. It's deep at a hormonal level. It's deep at a spiritual level. But what makes you the leader is the fact that you prioritize the interests of the child, that your personal needs become second and the needs of the child go first. And that's why your sleep is going to be disrupted for a while, because you're going to wake up when that child wakes up. You're going to feed when you're tired. You're going to do what needs to be done in order to secure the success of the dream. That's a important qualification for leadership. And I need to say it this way because I think that many of us, when we think of leadership, we automatically associate it with power and authority, with privilege and perks. We associate it with position and popularity. And the truth is that leadership has more to do with sacrifice and service than it does power and position, popularity, perks, privilege, all of those things that people associate with leadership. And when we think of leadership as power, privilege, perks, position, popularity, we are infected with a worldly view of leadership. And this is why Jesus in Matthew 19 and 20 really goes in with his disciples to say, look, your idea of leadership is wrong. And your idea of leadership is wrong because you think of leadership as power, position, privilege, and popularity, when actually it's sacrifice and service. And he that's going to be great among you must become your servant. That if you're going to be great in this kingdom, it's going to be based on your sacrifice and service. And so that's why I've kind of come at it from this perspective today, because I want us to think of leadership as mothering a dream, mothering an idea, mothering a possibility, mothering an opportunity. And that first involves birthing it, but then it involves mothering it. Okay? So bottom left, selflessness. The leader is always second to the vision and willing to make sacrifices for the success of a dream. Okay? So that's what Jesus meant when he said, he that's going to be great among you should first become your servant. Okay? In other words, should put the interests of others above the interests of themselves. And that's what Jesus modeled when he washed his disciples' feet. Okay? He washed his disciples' feet, and by doing that, he assumed the position of a servant. And by assuming the position of a servant, he made the disciples more important than himself. He made the disciples more important than himself. By assuming the position of a servant, he made the disciples more important than himself, because ultimately his vision had to do with empowering the disciples to take the vision to new levels after his transition. And so he needed to model servant leadership, and he needed to teach the principles of servant leadership, which have everything to do with selflessness and putting the vision and making yourself second to the vision. And then finally, it's wisdom. A leader will make decisions in the interests of the vision. So when a leader's making decisions, the leader makes the decisions in the interest of the vision. Now we kind of see this. We see this, I guess, in the story that we opened up with, that the true leader, the true mother, prioritized the interests of the child, took second place to the success of the vision, and made a decision in the interest of the vision. And she cried out to King Solomon and said, no, give her the child. Give this false leader the child. Don't kill the child. Now that was a painful and a difficult decision, because it would have given this woman legal custody over the child. But Solomon was so wise that he said, you are the true mother. You are the true mother. Because the false mother said, okay, that's a fair deal. But Solomon in his wisdom realized that this is the true mother because of the decisions she was making in the interest of the child. Because of the fact that she prioritized the interests of the child, Solomon's wisdom said, this is the true mother. And I want you to know that Solomon actually represents God. Right? He represents God in this analogy. And his sword represents justice. In fact, the sword is the symbol of justice. Sword and scales are the universal symbols of justice. And the sword is the symbol of justice because of the Solomon story, bring me a sword. But when we think of Solomon as representing God, it simply means this, right? That God is going to give legal custody to the right person, to the person who demonstrates these qualities when it comes to a vision. And that you don't have to worry about who's trying to take your stuff, who's trying to copy your stuff, who's trying to imitate your stuff, who's trying to compete with you, who's trying to outdo you. You don't need to worry about that, because God will always give legal custody to the true mother of the child. The true mother of the child is going to raise the child. And when I talk about the child, I'm talking about the opportunity, the dream, the vision. The true mother of the vision, the dream, the opportunity is going to raise the vision, the dream, the opportunity, because God will execute justice when you demonstrate the qualification, and I wish I had some help in here. I want you to send up some fire if this is blessing you and if this is speaking to you. So I want to talk about vision. All right. So Proverbs 29 verse 18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Right? Where there is no vision, the people perish. So if people are perishing, they are perishing because of lack of vision. And so the leader is primarily responsible for vision. Like if you're going to take the lead, it starts with the quality of your vision. Like there is no leader without vision. If you say, well, I should be in charge, I should be the leader. My next question is, well, what is your vision? Because if you don't have a vision, your leadership will minister death, all right, and not life. And your leadership will take us into a pit. It will not take us to the palace. What is your vision? Because it's your vision that sets you apart as a leader. Woo! So let's define vision right now. Let's define vision. So your vision, so when you say I have a vision, right, I'm not talking about a dream you had last night. I'm not talking about a picture in your mind. I'm not even talking about an ideal circumstance that you hope to create. I want to get into the mechanics of what a vision is. And that vision sets you apart as the leader, right? It sets you apart as the leader. And I want to dive into the mechanics of what the vision actually entails. So first of all, your vision is your solution. Woo! Your vision is your solution. Okay? Vision starts with a problem for which you can see a solution. Like when God gives you a vision, He's giving it to you against the backdrop of a problem. Because the vision itself is a solution. And when Moses came to Israel, when he came out of the wilderness, when he came from the burning bush and confronted the Pharaoh and spoke to the children of Israel, he spoke light against the backdrop of gross darkness. He spoke hope against the backdrop of deep despair. He literally brought a solution to Israel, which was to say, look, your problem is that you are enslaved, that you are oppressed, that you are marginalized, and that you are suffering in cruel bondage. But there is a land that God promised to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There is a land that God promised to your fathers. And that land, God, who promised it to your fathers, is ready to give that land to you. And He's going to give that land to you. So we're going to get up and get out of here. And we're going to possess our promised land, the land that God promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, that meant that Moses had a vision because he had a solution to the suffering. He had a solution to the oppression. He had a solution to the pain and the hardship of enslavement in Egypt. And so vision starts with a problem. Like if you say, I have a vision, then my question is, what problem does your vision solve? Because without contrast, your vision has no value. I wish I had some help in here. Without contrast, your vision has no value. Okay, what do I mean by contrast? I mean, you've heard it said that the stars come out at night. The stars come out at night. Well, actually, they don't, right? They are always there. We just can't see them in the day. We can't see them in the light. We can only see them in the dark. So it is the contrast that makes the stars visible. And when it comes to your vision, it's contrast that gives it value. So if Moses would have went to the children of Israel when they were prospering, when they were multiplying, when they were increasing, when they were abundant. Because at one stage in Egypt, that was the picture. They were prospering, they were multiplying, they were increasing, they were abundant. If Moses would have went to them at that stage and said, listen, God has promised your fathers a land, and that land is waiting for you to possess. You know what they would have said to Moses? They would have said, Moses, I need you to be quiet, shut up before someone hears you, get out of here and go back to your wilderness, because no one here wants to hear about that. We're perfectly happy where we are. We're doing well where we are, and we have no desire to go anywhere else. Because see, unless there's a contrast, then your vision has no value, okay? The reason why Dr. Martin Luther King was able to spearhead a civil rights movement that resulted in changing legislation, discriminatory legislation, and opening up a new era of opportunity for African Americans and other minorities. The reason he was able to do that is because he was speaking against the backdrop of Jim Crow. He was speaking against the backdrop of segregation. He was speaking against the backdrop of the humiliation of an entire race of people. And so your vision starts with the problem that you are here to solve. And without the problem, then your solution has no value. Number 2, vision is the value that you add to others, to society, or to an industry. In other words, in your vision, you must be able to show me how I will be better off. You have to be able to show me how following your vision puts me in a better place, gives me more opportunity, gives me more peace, gives me more freedom, gives me justice, gives me more of what I need and what I don't currently have. So the vision must add value to others, not simply to yourself. If all the vision does is increase and improve the quality of your life, then guess what? It's not a vision of value. Number 3, your vision is hope, right? Your vision is hope. It's hope of a better life, better results, better outcomes. Like I said, Moses preached hope to people who were helpless. Moses preached hope to people who were suffering deep despair. And so your vision must ignite within us a sense of hope that things can be better for us. And finally, and this is the big one, is your vision is your plan. My word, I'm just actually loving this. Your vision is your plan. Vision is more than hope. It involves a plan to realize that hope. So if you're going to be the leader, what sets you apart is the quality of your vision. Your vision is the solution to a problem that we face. Your vision comes against the backdrop of a problem that is painful. It promises to add value. It promises a better life, but it's more than promise and hope. It's a plan. See, Moses didn't just come to Israel and say, there's a land that God promised to your fathers, and in that land you will be free to flourish, free to prosper, free to grow. He said, here's the plan. We are going to leave Egypt. I'm going to tell Pharaoh to let you go. And if he doesn't let you go, God is going to curse him with plagues. God will curse him with plagues until he does let you go. When he lets us go, we're going to get out of here. We're going to cross the Red Sea. We're going to cut covenant with God at Mount Sinai. We're going to travel through the wilderness and possess the promised land, and God will drive out our enemies from before us. What Moses had now is a plan, not just a dream, not just a wish, but a plan. And in your leadership, you have to go beyond dreams and hopes and wishes to developing a plan to implement your solution and to bring that value to the people. Wow and wow. If this is blessing you, I want to see it in the chat box. So we know it's the quality of your vision that sets you apart as a leader. We know that the quality of your vision is going to make you magnetic as a leader. It's going to attract people to you. We know that the quality of your vision is going to attract investment to you, help to you, support to you. The quality of your vision. But I want to make it clear that there is something that precedes the vision. Like, I don't want you to just, pull out a pen and paper and start trying to create your vision for 2024. I want you to know that there's something that always precedes the vision, something that comes before the vision, or the womb out of which a vision is born. So first of all, it is a burden. A burden comes before the vision. Vision is born in people who care about a people or an issue or a cause. Vision is born in the hearts of people that care about people or an issue or a cause. So you carry a burden for people, for an issue, or for a cause. Let me illustrate it to you this way. Before Moses had his experience at the burning bush, he first identified with his own people and identified with their suffering. And when he saw an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, he killed the Egyptian. What does that mean? It means that there was a burden that he carried for his own people before God gave him a vision. Because if you don't have a burden for the issue and God gives you a vision for the issue, the vision doesn't have the contrast that gives it value. Again, the vision is something that you'll just negotiate in your mind as to whether this is a good idea or not a good idea. But once you already have a burden and God gives you a solution and that sits within the context of your burden, that vision is going to be born. That opportunity is going to become an outcome. Top right, a frustration. Vision is born of frustration with the status quo and the accepted state of play. So when you're frustrated with how things are because you know they could be better, when you're frustrated with status quo because you know it's substandard, okay, that you know that you're operating beneath your privilege and that people are living beneath their privilege and it's frustrating you, and this could be something that you experience in business. It's something you experience in your organization. It's something you could experience in your community. It's something you may be experiencing in society. It's something you may be experiencing in your church, but you're frustrated with it. And because you're frustrated with status quo and the accepted state of play, that is the womb in which God can plant a vision. Okay? And number 3 is anger. All right? Bottom left, anger. Vision is born of anger when injustice or evil is allowed to persist or prevail. So when you see evil allowed to persist or prevail, it creates righteous indignation and anger. And when you're angry in a very righteous sense, in terms of indignation, at the injustice that is allowed to prevail, that is a womb in which God can plant a brilliant idea. Because this precedes the vision. And number 4, it's your experience. So a personal experience of good or bad, of a good or bad nature, may be the birth of a vision in your life. So something good may have happened to you and you realize that I could make this happen for many other people too. That's the birth of a vision. Something bad happens to you and you decide, I don't want this to ever happen to anyone else ever again. I want to put a stop to this. This must never happen again. That's the birth of a vision. So people that are genuine visionaries and genuine leaders, they start from a place of burden, frustration, anger, and experience. They start from a place of burden, frustration, anger, and experience. So the question is, what is your burden? What is it that frustrates you? What is it that angers you? And what is your experience that you think you want to share or that you don't want anyone to ever have to go through ever again? That is the birth of your vision. So here's some more food for thought. Leadership is the life or death of a dream. It's kind of my opening comment. Leadership is the life or death of a dream. So what is leadership? So we looked at what the vision is. We looked at what the vision is. We looked at what creates vision. What is the cause of vision? What is the womb of vision? What starts you off on the visionary pathway? And again, hopefully, if you can identify some great leaders in society, you'll see the same principle at work. So Dr. King didn't just come up with a good idea to say, okay, let's start a civil rights movement and let's apply pressure to the government and to industry to outlaw race discrimination. Right? He didn't just come up with a good idea. It was the pain, it was the burden, it was the frustration, it was the anger. Okay? It was his own experience that said, no, enough is enough. And we need to change this. And that became the birth of it. If you look at any of the freedom fighters and any of the activists that significantly changed life for millions of people, they started in this place of frustration. If you look at Moses, he started in the place of frustration and exclusion. Okay, because he was exiled. He was a fugitive. For 40 years, he was a fugitive, not even allowed to go back to Egypt. He was raised in palatial luxury. And because of his convictions, because of his burden, his frustration, he was exiled from that and had to reinvent himself as a shepherd in the wilderness. And right there in the frustration, in the burden, in the anger of his own experience, God could give him a vision. The same is true of Gideon. When God gave Gideon a leadership role, gave him a leadership opportunity, where was he? He was in a cave, pressing wine, pressing grapes in a cave to hide it from the Midianites. Gideon was in a place of burden, of frustration, of anger, based on his personal experience. And so God could speak into his life a vision. And again, you'll see this principle over and over again. Nehemiah was called to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But when he heard the condition of his city, of his beloved city, he sat down, he wept, he fasted, he prayed, he was contrite, and he was broken. He was broken. Because he was broken, God was able to plant in him a vision. Is this making sense to anyone here tonight? Yeah, it is. So we know what vision is. We know what causes vision, but what is leadership? What is leadership? So watch this. You missed this, you missed the whole thing. Leadership is number one, conviction. It's conviction of your cause and belief in your vision. You cannot lead if you are not convicted of your cause and you do not believe in your vision. Once you're convicted of your cause and you believe in your vision, that's the ultimate qualification for your leadership. When you're convicted of your cause and you believe in your vision, it's evidence that God has chosen you for that purpose, that God has earmarked you for that role, that God released you into the world intentionally and strategically to solve that problem. When you're convicted of your cause and you believe in your vision, that makes you the leader. Before anyone's following you, you are the leader. because you're carrying in the womb of your imagination an idea, an opportunity, a possibility, a dream that you're convicted of and you believe in it. And once you have that inside of you, I need you to know that it's a matter of time before you're going to manifest leadership. It's a matter of time before you're going to start to take the other steps. So conviction is one. Step number two, top right, is creating. Creating what? Creating a high-performing team. A what? A high-performing team. A what? A high-performing team. Now, I read a book years ago. It was a joint work by two people called Doltich and Cairo. And the book was entitled Why CEOs Fail. Why CEOs Fail. And in the book, Why CEOs Fail, Doltich and Cairo offer a definition for leadership. And they said that leadership involves the capacity to create and sustain high-performing teams. Woo! It involves the capacity to create and sustain high-performing teams. They then said the performance of the leader is the performance of the team. The performance of the team is the performance of the leader. So I'm just going to say that again because it stayed with me for years. It was well over 10 years ago that I read that. I've never forgotten it. It made a profound impact on my leadership paradigm. Basically said that leadership involves the capacity to create and sustain high-performing teams. The performance of the team is the performance of the leader. And I loved the definition because it put the emphasis where the emphasis belonged, which is the performance of your team. The performance of your team. So a lot of leaders, right, they're like, okay, yeah, I have a team, but the team is no good, and the team's not doing it, and the team's not this, and the team's not that. Let me tell you something. The performance of the team is your performance. That you are only as good as the team. And therefore, if in fact you are going to be an excellent leader, it will be because you have invested in creating and keeping a high-performing team that's attracting and assembling competence and character for defined tasks and roles. Defined tasks and roles. So here's what that means. It means that motivation is not enough. It means that organization must meet motivation. It means that you may be motivated, but without organization, you cannot convert your opportunity into an outcome. And the organization that you need is a team that's high performing, as in is effective at getting results. And that team needs to be made up of people that have competence and character and for defined tasks and roles. This is critical, creating your team. Now, someone said, Bishop, you've gone off into motivational psychology and you need to give me some Bible because it's Bible study night. Okay, let me give you some Bible. What was the first thing Jesus did when he started his ministry? What was his first, what was his priority? His priority was to build the team. So he went about recruiting the disciples to become his top team. And then he had teams at various levels. He had the 70 operating as a team. He had allies and associates and stakeholders in his vision. That's where Joseph of Arimathea came from. That's where Nicodemus came from. There were people around it, but the top team was the disciples, and he recruited the team. Where did Moses begin? What was his number one priority once he had led, once he embarked on the mission of leading the children of Israel out of Egypt? It was to build a team, to compensate for his weaknesses. So he knew he wasn't a great speaker. And so God gave him Aaron, who was a great speaker. So Aaron would become the spokesperson. Moses would become the ideas person. Aaron would become the spokesperson. Eventually, there were 70 elders. And then eventually there were captains of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, of tens. There was an organization, and building the organization is a function of leadership. Build your organization around your opportunity. Someone need to help me scream up in here. Build your organization around your opportunity. Okay? Because your opportunity is going to require an organization, and it could be 2 or 3 people, but they're going to be attracted to you on the quality of your vision. And then, bottom left, sustaining. So the team and its performance, that means sustaining the team and its performance through adequate accountabilities, recognition, incentive, and reward. In other words, once you have a team, you are going to have to manage that team so that they are accountable and so that they are incentivized through recognition and reward. And finally, it's supplying, equipping your team to win and shine in their roles, anticipating needs and making provisions. That's the work of a leader. And if you really just want to understand what the work of a leader is, it's the work of translating this conviction into a team that is motivated and equipped to deliver on your outcomes. So here goes. And some more food for thought. A leadership vacuum is a problem begging for a solution. So what problem is begging for a solution? What problem are you called to solve? Is it a problem in society? Is it a problem in business? Is it a problem in, or in industry? Is it a problem in the culture? Is it a problem in the church? Here's the basic rule. If you see it, okay, if you're the one who sees it and you care about it, then you're called to be the difference that makes the difference. Like if you see a problem in society that burdens you or that angers you, then it's you that God is calling to do something about it. If you see a problem in business, in the marketplace, in industry, in your organization, if you see the problem and you care about it, you have a burden and it frustrates you or even angers you, you are the one that God is calling to leadership. If you see a problem in the culture and it burdens you, it frustrates you, it angers you, guess what? You are the one that God is trying to plant a vision in your heart. And likewise in your church, it don't take nothing to complain about what's missing in church, what's wrong with church, what church should be, what church is not. It doesn't take much to do that. But see, when you see a solution, you say, you know what, I can see how this church could be better. I can see how its processes can be more effective. I can see how its people can be more blessed. I can see how its reach can be extended. I can see this, okay? I see the solution. And it's a burden for me. It's a frustration for me. It even angers me at times. Then it is you that God has chosen and called to a place of leadership. It might not be the top job. It doesn't have to be the top job. But it is leadership all the same. The world is waiting for leaders. What is the world waiting for? Leaders. What is the world waiting for? Leaders, because nothing changes in society, in industry, in culture, in ministry. Nothing changes without leadership. It's going to be status quo for the rest of 2024 and beyond unless a new breed of leaders who have creative ideas and innovations based on a burden, a frustration, a passion, and a calling are able to implement new ideas and sell to us a new way. Ezekiel 22 verse 29 to 30 says, the people of the land have used oppression. There's the problem. And exercised robbery. There's the problem. And have vexed the poor and needy. There's the problem. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. There's the problem. Here's the solution. And I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it, but I found none. In other words, the solution to oppression and robbery and vexation and all of these things is a man. I'm looking for a person. Because if I can find a person, then we can save the land. We can save the situation. But if we can't find a person who's going to take the lead, if I can't find a person to take the lead, then the consequences follow. Wow and wow. I only have a minute left. So there are 4 types of leadership needed in the emerging world, and we'll go through this in this series. Number 1 is strategic leadership. So that is executive leadership responsible for direction, strategy, and risk. Where are we going? How will we get there? What might we experience along the way? And that means that, when God calls you to executive leadership, it means he's putting you in position to make decisions. And when God puts you in a decision-making position and gives you authority in an organization to make decisions, that is strategic leadership. But that's not the only form of leadership, because it's also thought leadership. And these people are responsible for advising strategic leaders. Okay? So that was Joseph's role. Joseph was a thought leader. That was Daniel's role. Daniel was a thought leader. His job was as advisor, and you can be a thought leader that advises the strategic leaders to make the right decisions. And then there's management and team leadership, okay, which manages the performance of a team. And then there is leading by example, which all of us can get involved in. Leading by example. Oh, I love this.
Hey, I'm Bishop Wayne Malcolm, author, coach, and founder of the Epic Kingdom Network. If you've ever felt like something's missing in what you've been taught about Christianity, you're not wrong. Most of us were taught that heaven is the goal, prize, and sole objective of the faith. But the original message of Christ taught us to occupy, to influence, and to transform the world. Believe it or not, Jesus didn't die to get us into heaven. He died to get heaven into us, and then through us into the earth. What if I told you that Christianity was never meant to be a religion, but rather a relationship and a global revolution, a divine government, not a man-made institution? That the original message and mission of Christ was hijacked, diluted, distorted, and replaced with a religion. My new ebook, Kingdom Theology for Kingdom Citizens, is not just another devotional. It's a call to action, a bold reintroduction to the original message of Christ, a message of dominion, not escapism, of transformation, not tradition. You'll learn what it means to rule and reign with Christ, to steward wealth with purpose, to influence government, education, culture, and business as an ambassador of heaven. This book will shift your lens, stir your spirit, and set you on course with divine clarity. And right now, for a limited time, I'm giving you free access to the digital and audiobook versions. No cost, no catch. Just click the link in the description, grab your copy, and step into the movement. The kingdom is here, and it's looking for leaders. Let's build, let's reign, let's turn the world upside down.
Hey there, entrepreneurs! If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne, and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.